This is Moneyline Mania with Chaz and the crew.
Chaz, what's going on, bud?
I've been a busy little boy.
How's your family doing?
Everybody's good, thank you. Dealing with all the stuff that families deal with. But today was a good day. I got to talk to quite a few friends over the last couple days, and I have major plays in major sports.
We are ready.
So you should set your alarm for 10:55. Pack the bong. Pack the bowl in the bong.
There you
ready
go.
to go. So you don't have to get up early for that.
Get high.
Get up about 10:55, hit the bong, turn on WWSRN, and watch Wake and Bake. You'll hear Hector. Hector has been on USL. I'll never forget. Hector came on the very first week, and USL hadn't started. It was the first week of whatever league he was doing, and he skunked it. He went 0-3, which he never goes 0-3. And ever since then, he's been on a nice little tear, but it's funny because the USL that he covers, it's pretty good soccer, but it's hard to find. A lot of books don't cover it. I would imagine on the Vegas Strip, if you walk into most of those casino sports books, you're not getting action on the USL. If you open their app, you get an app and do it on the phone, they'll offer more on the online casinos than they will in the sports book and house. But he gave out a 3-teamer with the San Diego, Phoenix, and Sacramento. Toronto, Calgary. Wes likes the dog. Wes likes Toronto. Wes now.
Wesy boy.
This is a pick for our New York friends, he said. He likes the Jets plus 3.5.
Really?
They get a boost from Wilson being back in action. The Steelers won't be able to defend with all the injuries. I also think Steelers are in a bad spot against the Jets D that gets better every week. So you guys are very knowledgeable.
You hear that? The Jets defense getting better every week.
Wow, Wes is high on the Jets defense. Well, I think their secondary, their two corners are really good. DJ Reed is as good as he was when he played over there in Seattle. He was a Pro Bowl player. Gardner, go look what he did against Jamar Chase last week. He shut him down. So, yeah, their secondary is good. Their linebackers are better than their front guys. I would have thought Quinn Williams and Rankins and Carl Lawson were going to be a lot better than they have been. And Franklin Myers has been absolutely terrible. So, I hope so.
Here's my easy sports data for that game. New York Jets, for the game, they've allowed 24 or more in 8 of 9 of their last regular season game. Pittsburgh in the first quarter has scored 3 points or less in the last 10 of 11. Pittsburgh at home in the first half is under in 6 of 6. For the game, though, they're allowing 20 or less. So Pittsburgh isn't scoring any points. They're not really giving up points. The Jets are kind of giving up points. But remember, when we talk about a small portion of the season, say we're saying this year, it's 3 games. You could have 3 games where you gave up 10 points and you're averaging 10, right? And then the next game, you give up 30. This data is 8, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 games worth of data. There's no way that data gets changed that dramatically by one game because it's just not enough data to change that number. So take that into what you like. You listen to what he says, you listen to the data, and you make a play.
Right.
I do not have a play on that game myself.
I hope he's right. It'll only benefit me as a Jet fan.
Oh, speaking of being right, you got to get your credit for that Miami win over Buffalo.
Well, thank you.
It was an ugly game for Buffalo, but it was an even uglier game in hindsight for Miami because that kid wasn't wobbling because he had a bad back. That kid was wobbling because he didn't know what day it was.
Nothing's a concussion to Miami. I saw something on Twitter that was funny. Tua Tagovailoa, questionable, he's been struck by a meteor. And I said, replied, the Dolphins still might not think it's a concussion. You can't get hurt your head that way.
That's right. It's funny. When it happened, don't take this the wrong way. I got a concussion once. I know the symptoms. And my hand's paralyzed. I went right to my sports book and I took live action and I took money line on Cincinnati because I knew this guy's not coming back and I don't know who was playing, but I like money line when I can get money line when I see your quarterback waiting for a stretcher. But I had that happen to me. We were at a fish joint. You know how they got all the fried fish joints back where we live back in the East Coast? Mm-hmm. We're at the fish joint. I had got hit in the head at the Little League practice, kind of shook it off, and then I'm in the backseat of the car. Also, my hands aren't working, so I kind of felt bad for him, but I took the money.
I picked the Bengals to win before the game started. I might have another big week, boys, so better check out my pick.
You brought up fish joints. It would be ideal for the Dolphins, more like fried fish at this point.
So I said to my buddy, you know what? You look at Miami. The guy shouldn't own the team. If the guy in Phoenix got to sell the team, the guy in Miami should sell that team. He's just a bad person. He's a bad human being. He should sell that team. And so bad things happen in bad organizations. Did you see at the end that corkscrew? He got the snap. Mo. Has Mo ever been on here, Mo, from the Mo Radio
First
Show?
week he was here, and he hasn't been on since.
He works a lot.
Yeah.
He was a wrestler. He's actually in the Hall of Fame. He's the only Hall of Fame guest I've ever. I know you guys have had Hall of Fame guests, but you're special. He's the only Hall of Fame guest I ever had. He's in the Indiana Hall of Fame for wrestling, but it looked like a wrestling move almost. But the AstroTurf and the Mother Earth is hard. All right, so here's his other play. He says the Patriots are getting 9.5 now. They are well coached, and Hoyer won't make costly kid mistakes that lose the game. I think 2-point shift. It's too many points to value Mac Jones. It really is a very good handicapping point that Wes brings up. With an injury, how many points is that person worth? It's really difficult. What if a left tackle goes out, right? A left tackle, how do you measure what he's worth? But if you watch the movie with Sandra Bullock, you know he's worth a lot. He's the second thing you do. You buy your mortgage, you get your insurance. You get your quarterback, you get your left tackle. So then we go to the easy sports data on that game, and that is New England and Green Bay. And it says Green Bay at home in the first half is an 11-2 against the spread. And that's what I'm doing with this game. I'm treating this game like a college game with a big point spread. I'm not touching the game. I'm going to have Green Bay in the first half. If they hold on, cover, fine. If they get backdoored and win by 7, I don't care because I'll have cash and go on to another game.
Oh,
so
Green Bay definitely win this game.
He could win too, and I could win. But I'm just saying 11-2 in the first half in 13 games, that's not an aberration. That's not a small sample. That's a decent sample when it comes to football team. Those were 2 plays for Wes. Never liked being the only guy, so thank you guys for being here because I wouldn't know how to push the buttons. I never liked being the only guy because I like bouncing off of other people's stuff. So I appreciate that Wes and Hector threw that stuff in. Jonathan was actually coaching. He coaches high school football. Jonathan actually is going to finish the year as the #1 Major League Baseball handicapper on Vegas Insider.
Wow, that's awesome.
Good for him.
This is a company that's been around for 25 years. This is a company that sells picks for a reason, to make money. If you're selling something bad, customers don't come back. You got to be good to get a customer to come back. If you give them a bad pizza, they ain't coming back. You give them a bad cocktail, they ain't coming back. You give them a bad pick, they ain't coming back. He's really good, but I've known him for years now, so I wanted to give him a shout out only because it's a pretty cool thing, and he's been on your show.
Awesome.
Did his wife give birth?
Not yet. He's not due for a while.
Good for him. It's his first, right?
Yeah. It's something in the wake and bake. I don't know if it's the cannabis and the water, but everybody's getting pregnant.
Eventually we'll hear that Wes is pregnant.
There you go. Wes would be a good mom. Clemson, NC State. Clemson's not covered, but they're not giving a lot, right? What's the line?
It was 6.5.
The data is going to tell you they're not covering, but it's also showing you that they're giving 23, 24, 20 points every game. So to give 6.5, you could cover some of those games that you didn't cover winning the game outright. So I would have no problem betting Clemson at home. It's tough to play in that place.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
They had a pretty big home winning streak for a while. ACC's not great, but still.
Arizona, Colorado. You saw that UCLA went in and kind of manhandled Colorado. I think Arizona's kind of doing the same thing. Don't get me wrong. I realize it's late. It's 9:30 at night. Oh, you worked all day. You got to go out. You got to meet your girlfriend at the club, whatever. Just get the bed in before you go. I've been out. There's hot chicks dancing, but there's also guys on the phone watching games. So don't be afraid to watch a game on your phone. And then what about Herm Edwards, huh?
Absolutely.
See you, don't want to be you.
He's going to be seeing a lot of money in his pocket because he's going to be suing the college.
He's had a long, pretty successful career. He was the guy on the punt.
He was the guy that says, we play to win the game.
Thank you for reminding me of the Giants-Eagles dark side.
He's gone. There's nothing there for this team.
I feel so bad for him of the way they treated him on his way out. Just absolutely.
Yeah,
horrendous.
you know, but unfortunately it happens. Once relationships go bad in the college sports game, the athletic director, of course, he deals with the board and president and stuff, so he's got to take care of, everybody's covering their own ass. Coach does sometimes when he cans a DC or an OC, right? Well, something's got to happen. Okay, let me keep my job and I'll fire Joey, who worked with me for 20 years, but he's the offensive coordinator. So, yeah, I like USC in that one. And then I'm going to finish it out with a parlay. For me, it's 6:30 at night. It's a whole different animal having a 3-team parlay that starts at 6:30 at night. Because at 6:30, the dishes are already in the dishwasher. It's probably not drying them yet, but it's pretty close to drying them.
And you're getting ready for dessert.
Kitchen's clean. Everybody's kind of winding down. And then I got Pac-12 football. I got 3 games. I'm going to have Arizona, USC, and Oregon in the over. Now, the over's very high, but Stanford gave up some points to somebody, and I remember saying, wow, if Stanford gave up that many points to that team, you'd use a common opponent in handicapping. They beat Tampa Bay, and they lost to Tampa Bay by 14, so that gives you some reference point of versus Tampa Bay, but they were at home and whatever. With this team, somebody that shouldn't score points on Stanford. It was probably one of those checks in the beginning of the year. You go to Stanford, right? They fill the stadium. They got all those rich alumni donating money, and they give you a big fat check because your stadium holds 27,000 people. And they beat you up. That didn't happen this year. They squeaked out of it. And I said, if that team can score that many points on Stanford, what is Oregon going to score at home on Stanford? Because Oregon is a very exciting team.
Wes was pretty adamant last week about Stanford upsetting Washington, but that didn't happen.
Did you hear me say anything? I simply wrote next to my pick for Washington, Wes likes Stanford. So I backed off, and it was an easy winner for me. John, Wes, Mo, any of these guys, if they say the opposite team, I look again at the game, and sometimes I will back off. Sometimes I'll call them up and say, hey, you want me to take you? I'm taking the house's money on this game. You want me to take yours too? I'll double down with a side bet. I believe my handicapping could handicap with anybody. Hey, you said you're going to have a big week. You got some winners. So let's hear your winners, and I'll tell you what the data says.
In the Baltimore-Buffalo game, I have Buffalo winning the game outright. I think Buffalo is the better overall team. I know they have a lot of injuries, and they're playing in Baltimore, but Buffalo losing last week against Miami, I definitely believe they're going to come out pretty strong in this game. I expect Diggs to have over 100 yards in this game. I expect Josh Allen to play better than he did last week.
I don't know if Miami's defense was that good.
Buffalo,
the next week, 4 days later, they played good.
Yes.
So, Easy Sports data, Buffalo, in the second half, in the last 10 games in the second half, they've allowed 9 or less in 9 of those 10 games. Then Baltimore at home in the first quarter, 8 straight games have gone under. So if you got a Baltimore that goes under in the first quarter and a Buffalo team that doesn't allow people to score in the second half, you might have a good opportunity for an under on a game that a lot of people think is going to be high scoring.
I got Vegas getting their first win against the Broncos. I am not a big fan of Nathaniel Hackett so far. Russell Wilson, a lot of people still love and think that he's going to come out of it, but he hasn't looked good the last couple of weeks. I think the Raiders are a lot better than they've shown on the field, and Josh McDaniels cannot go 0-4. I have the Raiders on the under, knocking off the Broncos.
Yeah, on the road, Denver is 1-6 against the spread in their last 7 games. I still remember the field goal. That's just not the kind of coach I want.
And then there's Kansas City Sunday Night Football versus the Buccaneers. I know the Buccaneers have Evans coming back, Julio Jones coming back. Chris Godwin is a game-time decision. I think this offense is going to be a lot better than it was last week against Green Bay. I think Brady will put up some numbers. Kansas City, we know they're going to put up numbers, but are they going to put up enough against Tampa and the way their defense is played? Tampa's secondary has not been as good as it was last year, but I still think they have more than enough. They have 2 really good linebackers that can get at the quarterback. I think they're going to put pressure on Patrick Mahomes. I still don't know what Kansas City's number 1 wide receiver is, and they're not going to be able to run against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as they love to shut down that running game, which they've done really all season long. So I've got the Buccaneers winning this game on the over. Kansas City loses 2 games in a row, which puts them at 2-2 in a very bad division right now.
Yeah, it was supposed to be the best division in football.
Definitely.
Yeah, so let's see what we have on that. Tampa Bay in the second half, in 6 straight games they've covered against the spread, and they allow 10 points or less in the last 10 of their 11 games. Defense that you mentioned is good. Kansas City on the road in the first half scored 14 or more in 5 of 6. So yeah, if you like Tampa Bay there, Tampa Bay in the over, but Tampa Bay coming back in the second half, they won. That was a winner for me. If something has happened here 9 straight, I'd probably hit on it already 4 or 5 times. So that's one of the reasons I catch a lot of tickets, guys. It's not because I'm a great handicapper. I'm just betting. The same thing I bet last time, and it won. Duh. I don't take it off black. If I hit on black, I leave it on black.
My uncle says you have a 50-50 chance if you're playing red and black on the roulette.
Except for a couple times, guess what has happened? That green dot shows up, or the double green. There's a fraction of the money on green. There's some people that always throw it on green, but there's a fraction of the money on green that there is on the numbers or on the red and the black. So when it does pop green, there's a groan from most of the table, and one person is really excited over in the corner.
Definitely not you, that's for sure.
35-1 or whatever. I got the Browns in the first quarter again. They've been winning in the first quarter. I like over in the Philly game, but these teams start slow, so I'm going to do some live action. Rather than 48.5, I'm looking to get it to 42.5. So if you see Philly and Jacksonville game scored 43 or more, I hit that bet. I got Dallas. I got the under in the Giants game. The under in the Giants game, it moved. So I took it at 39 and moved to 36.5. So technically it was an over, but on my line it was a push. And so for me, a push is a 0, and that means I'm still betting an under at The Meadowlands, when the Giants are playing at home, hasn't happened in 2 years, and the Bears and the Giants don't scream points. I like Detroit. I like Arizona. I like Green Bay, but I'm betting Green Bay early. And then, actually, one of my best bets is the last game, Monday night. I like the under. This is a first-half parlay, the Rams at under, and a game parlay, San Francisco and under, with a straight bet on the under. That's why Mondays are so wonderful for me.